The so-called glam yoga teacher is in court. The trial of Kaitlin Armstrong starting now, and I mean right now.
You heard the lady, like right meow. Let's get into it.
Glam yoga teacher.
Kaitlin Armstrong, 35, is charged with first-degree murder in the May 11th, 2022 shooting death of Moriah Mo Wilson, who was 25. Armstrong was allegedly furious that her boyfriend, professional cyclist Colin Strickland, had secretly gone out on a date with Wilson. A 43-day manhunt for Armstrong ensued when she skipped town after being questioned and released by police about why her 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee was caught on surveillance video near the scene of the murder. Police didn't have enough evidence to make an arrest, but Armstrong proceeded to sell her vehicle and hop on a plane. She went from Austin to Houston to New York and eventually landed in Costa Rica. Armstrong was captured in Costa Rica in July of 2022. She had apparently undergone plastic surgery and dyed her hair. She was laying low at a hostel and had been using her sister's passport. Armstrong was extradited to the U.S., where she pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. Bail was set at $3.5 million, and she has remained in custody ever since. This is the trial of Texas versus Kaitlin Marie Armstrong. Welcome to day number 8 of the Kaitlin Armstrong murder trial. Today's trial update is brought to you by CBS Austin and me, your host, Jay is for Justice. Let's get into it. Steve Aston was called in by the prosecution as a firearms and tool marks expert. On Monday, he told jurors in the prosecution that he saw agreement with the bullets and casings left at the scene to those tests fired in the laboratory using the Sig Sauer 9mm pistol collected from Armstrong and Strickland's residence. Aston does not use verbiage like match and instead calls it a positive, quote, level of agreement. Images were shown comparing the cartridges, with fine stria being pointed out by Aston as in agreement. The defense cross-examined Aston on Tuesday. Defense attorneys pressed Aston on the science he uses, asking whether he agreed it was subjective. Aston did agree it was subjective. One area specifically the defense attorneys scrutinize is the language included in the AFTE guidance, which Aston follows. The line mentioned that another tool making those markings is a practical improbability. Aston says examiners have long had questions about that line since it's not possible to test every firearm or weapon against their findings. During the defense's questions, the state called multiple objections on the grounds that the defense was cutting off the witness and not letting Aston finish his remarks. Not long after, the defense passed the witness. After Aston, the state called the 38th witness in the trial, Dr. Bernadette DeRussi. DeRussi is a deputy medical examiner at the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office. DeRussi displayed autopsy photos taken of the victim, Moriah Mo Wilson. During this portion of the trial, the majority of Wilson's family and friends who were watching the proceedings stepped out of the courtroom. DeRussi mentions 3 gunshots noted in the examinations. One was to the right of the face with an exit wound on the left side of the jaw. Another bullet would be noted near the right temporal scalp. The third gunshot wound was noted to the left of the chest. The exit wound seen on the left back led DeRussi to say it's consistent with Wilson being against a firm surface. The prosecution asked if that could be consistent with the body being on the ground, and DeRussi said yes. DeRussi also described the damage near the wounds, like bleeding and bruising. She also pointed out 2 potential grazing or defensive wounds on Wilson's index finger and thigh, Two DNA analysts were called to testify on Tuesday, Andrea Gill and Samantha Perkins. Gill said she prepared the samples, and Perkins did the analysis. When Perkins testified, she walked counsel through the report of her findings. In this report, Perkins read that a swab from Wilson's bike handlebars were analyzed. Perkins says the result came with 3 suspected people, with the likelihood ratio of 49,400 times greater for the sample matching Wilson, Armstrong, and an unknown individual compared to Wilson and 2 unknown individuals. The swab from Wilson's bike seat was read next. The report Perkins referred to said the profiles from Wilson, Armstrong, and 1 unknown individual are 224 billion times greater than those coming from Wilson and 2 unknown individuals. Cash and Strickland's profiles were excluded when the testing results came back. Other swabs taken from the Sig Sauer 9mm pistol also had a mixture of 3 individuals, according to Perkins. Perkins read that Armstrong and 2 unknown individuals are 3.87 septillion times greater than 3 unknown individuals. Strickland was also listed as a possible contributor to the profile. Cash and Wilson were excluded. Perkins told the prosecution that the probability is greater that the profile matches Armstrong than Strickland. The defense asked if any swabs were taken from the second firearm that belonged to Strickland and Armstrong. Perkins said no. The defense also asked about the 3rd unknown individual referenced in the multiple of tests. Perkins says they do not have a way to know if it's the same individual or a different individual, or know the gender or sex of the unknown person. The defense asked if any other samples, beyond those of Strickland, Armstrong, Wilson, and Wilson's friend Kaitlin Cash, were tested to compare. Perkins said she was only given those 4 samples. Armstrong's escape attempt was brought up in court on Tuesday. Officer Johnson with the Travis County Sheriff's Office was called to testify. Johnson says she and another officer transported Armstrong to a medical facility for an 8 a.m. appointment on October 11th, 2023. Johnson says they transported Armstrong without incident to the appointment. When they were leaving, Johnson says she exited in front of Armstrong. On the way out, a nurse called out that they were leaving behind some paperwork. So Johnson turned. Johnson says that's when Armstrong took off. Johnson says they began pursuing Armstrong, who eventually attempted to climb a chain fence. Videos of the pursuit were shown to jurors. Johnson says that when Armstrong was back in their custody, they were a half-mile away from the medical facility. Johnson is asked about Armstrong's demeanor. She says Armstrong looked calm after capture and did not seem winded. Johnson says Armstrong was placed in an APD vehicle after this. The defense asked if Johnson was aware Armstrong was getting medical treatment for an injured shoulder, which the attorney Rick Kofer says was due to an officer kicking Armstrong in jail. Johnson said she was unaware of those circumstances and, when asked by the defense, was also aware of any abuse or mistreatment happening in jail. The last witness of the day was Pamela Mazak. Mazak showed a comprehensive PowerPoint presentation about the location of Wilson, Strickland, and Armstrong's phones on May 11, 2022, along with data obtained from Armstrong's Jeep GPS. Much of this testimony was previously discussed, but Mazak presented it simultaneously on screen. The defense raised similar questions about whether any of the data definitely proved Armstrong was the individual driving the Jeep or with the phone. The state jumped on this, asking if Mazak could verify that whoever was driving the Jeep and using the phone was tracked near the residence where Armstrong and Strickland lived. Mazak agreed with the prosecution and also acknowledged that there is other evidence putting Strickland at his motorcycle and Poolberger during the time the Jeep was in motion. Now, I don't know about you guys, but seeing this chase She literally gets off the fence and then runs around the tree. It's nutty. And that was when court concluded for the day on Tuesday. Court will be back in session Wednesday, November 15th. Make sure you're subscribed for the next update. Make sure you like this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.